When a modern city is hit by a nuclear strike, infrastructure fails instantly. The grid goes dark, communications sever, and the surface becomes uninhabitable. But as the world above braces for impact, a classified network of subterranean fortresses is already waiting to receive the nation's elite. During the 1950s, ordinary citizens practiced duck-and-cover drills and stocked their basements with canned goods. Behind closed doors, the government knew a wooden desk wouldn't stop thermal radiation. They adopted a strategy known as continuity of government, dividing leadership into Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie teams. The Alpha team would remain in Washington to be sacrificed in the opening minutes of a war. Bravo and Charlie teams would evacuate. Nationwide public civil defense was largely theater. The true survival plan was exclusive, strictly underground, and deeply classified. This graphic displays the continuity of government readiness conditions, or the COGCON scale. It serves as the definitive playbook for surviving the absolute worst-case scenario. Right now, we sit at COGCON 4. This is the baseline, normal peacetime operations. Yet even during peacetime, a third generation of Doomsday staffers maintains these massive facilities 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The air filtration systems are running, the pantries are fully stocked, the diesel generators are primed and waiting for a catastrophic shock that hasn't yet arrived. America's apocalypse machinery never actually turns off. It is an omnipresent shadow government operating quietly right beneath our feet. When an active threat emerges, the readiness level escalates to COGCON 3. If a strike is imminent, the country hits COGCON 2, meaning government officials have exactly 4 hours to deploy to relocation facilities. For the executive branch, the first stop is right here, directly beneath the White House lawn. What started as a modest tunnel system for Franklin D. Roosevelt was heavily expanded during Harry Truman's 1948 renovation. Workers poured 7-foot-thick concrete walls to build the Presidential Emergency Operations Center. Decades later, the Secret Service rushed Vice President Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, and other senior officials into this exact shelter during the September 11th attacks. That day revealed how difficult it is to transport government officials out of a completely paralyzed city during a crisis. In response, workers broke ground in 2010 for what was officially called an electrical update. In reality, journalists reported the construction of a new 5-story deep shelter with an independent air supply, designed to protect the West Wing staff from radiation. When the crisis clock runs out, surface infrastructure quickly becomes a liability. True survival relies entirely on dedicated, isolated, deep Earth habitats. COGCON 1 is the final escalation. It calls for the United States government to be fully relocated to secure, fully staffed underground fortresses. The evacuation teams disperse to primary megabunkers. Leadership heads to Mount Weather in Virginia. Military command shifts to the Raven Rock Mountain Complex, known as Site R. Others funnel into highly classified nodes like the AT&T ZA1 switching facility. To grasp the immense scale of these structures, look at the Greenbrier bunker in West Virginia. The government successfully hid this massive Doomsday facility in plain sight, directly under a luxury resort, for 30 years. This specific installation was equipped to house the entire U.S. Congress indefinitely. Buried 720 feet underground, it featured more than 1,000 bunk beds, a 400-seat cafeteria, vast water tanks, and individual auditoriums for both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Behind 25-ton blast doors, engineers constructed complete shadow cities capable of replicating the legislative and executive functions of an entire nation. Surviving a nuclear strike requires extreme engineering. At the Cheyenne Mountain complex in Colorado, the central threat is the massive compression wave of a nearby nuclear groundburst. A shockwave traveling through the granite would instantly shatter rigid walls and snap sensitive data cables. This diagram demonstrates the mass spring damper solution. Engineers floated 15 multi-story buildings on more than 1,300 massive steel springs. As the shockwave hits, the buildings gently sway, absorbing the impact and keeping the communication lines intact. Surviving the initial blast is just the first step. These fortresses use positive pressure systems and complex HEPA air filtration to create closed-loop ecosystems. They are engineered to sustain human life long after the surface air turns lethal. For the personnel SEALs inside the NORAD Combat Operations Center, The psychological reality is intense. They operate under fluorescent lighting, governed strictly by Zulu time, and are completely isolated from the natural world. They carry the profound ethical weight of staffing an installation built to outlast civilization, ensuring that mutual destruction is fully carried out. And they make these decisions under extreme pressure. In 1979 and again in 1980, the screens inside Cheyenne Mountain displayed thousands of inbound Soviet missiles. The entire American military was placed on high alert. Bomber crews sat in their aircraft with the engines running. The Pacific Command's airborne post took flight. All of this happened because a single 46-cent computer chip malfunctioned. The government has invested billions in physical armor and blast doors, but the greatest vulnerability in this apocalypse system will always be human error and fragile technology. These underground facilities remain active installations, continuously updated and fortified against modern cyber warfare and biological threats. The United States maintains a meticulously updated, highly active plan for the absolute end of the world. If a global catastrophe happened tomorrow, the nation's elite would successfully disappear into the earth. The only remaining question is, what would be left above ground?